25 years. Your home for Minnesota Twins baseball.
The Twins try to bounce back from a tough loss to the Royals in the series opener last night. It's the second game of a three-game series between these Central Division rivals tonight at Target Field. Just about 3 weeks ago, Andrew Albers made his Major League debut in Kansas City against the Royals and shut them out for 8 1/3 innings. Followed it up with a two-hit shutout here in his next start. He faces the Royals for the second time, and that means Billy Butler, who homered last night. And in the last 2 seasons against the Twins, nobody has more hits against Minnesota pitching than Butler, who's piled up a .391 average. The Royals will send left-hander Danny Duffy to the mound. He's pitched just 9 2/3 innings in the big leagues this year. 1 win without a loss and a 1.86 ERA. Brian Dozier had a 2-base hit for the Twins last night, continuing what's been a remarkable power surge for the leadoff hitter for Minnesota. Only Chris Davis has more extra base hits in all of baseball since the 1st of June. Welcome to Target Field with Tom Kelly. I'm Anthony LaPanta. Brian Dozier has surprised some with this power surge because he didn't show it early in the season. Had only 6 extra base hits in the first 2 months. But you have not been surprised by his ability to hit for extra base power.
I'm not surprised about anybody hitting the ball hard anymore. A lot of guys walk up there and can pound it over the fence, and I think once they gain some confidence, now here comes the power. So as Roy spoke about earlier, turning the hip, getting an idea what he wants to do, having some success with that builds more confidence, better at-bats, more quality at-bats, more hits, more doubles, more everything. So Brian's certainly taken off the second half of the season through his hard work. Him and Bruno, Tom Bernansky, our hitting coach, has done a wonderful job. So they're just moved forward. Mindley now got to clean up some of the other stuff going on the field. Not covering second. On the pitch out last night, somebody got covered. The bunt, hit and run, clean some of these things up.
Andrew Albers will be looking for an encore against the Royals. We'll preview his start next.
Ford. Visit northlandford.com and your local Northland Ford dealer today. By Menards. Save big money on all your home improvement needs at Menards. And by the Minnesota Department of Public Safety.
After a couple of disappointing losses, the Twins still have a chance to win this series against the Royals. Andrew Albers with a pretty good mark so far at Target Field. He can make the start tonight for the Twins in Game 2 of this series. Dick Bramer, Roy Smalley with you from Target Field. A little earlier this month, Andrew Albers literally was the international man of mystery. Nobody knew much about him. Certainly the Royals didn't, and he pitched very well in picking up a win in his first major league start. Now the proverbial second time around for the Royals against Albers, who might already be showing some signs of the league getting familiar with him.
You know, when you're a spot pitcher and a pitch-to-contact guy, you have to be really good in your locations, in your pitch selections. The first 2 games out, he wasn't good. He was sensational. He threw the ball exactly where he wanted to, almost every pitch, and had 2 wins and no ERA to show for it. His next 2 starts, not really as bad as it looks. I would say he was about 4 pitches in each game away from being really pretty good. But the league is starting to learn about him, and he's starting to learn about how he has to pitch in the big leagues, and this is it. When he's successful, get strike 1. When he can get ahead, then he can go to his 2 fastballs, the cutter and the sinker. If he can throw those balls on the corners, he sets hitters up with change of speed, a big slow curveball, and a changeup. He mixes his pitches really, really well, and what I love about Andrew Albers is when he gets a hitter set up for a certain pitch, he can throw it to that spot and get him out. We'll see if he can do that tonight.
Ordinarily, it's the Twins who've enjoyed a big edge in the season series with Kansas City. This year, it's the other way around. Twins hoping to win the last 2 games of the season series.
The Royals almost completed a shutout in his first major league start. Will make his second start against the Kansas City Royals. And Ned Yost has seen his team rebound from yet another losing streak. They had a 7-game losing streak that brought them back down to the 500 mark, but now they've won 3 in a row against 3 different teams. The Menards batting order for Kansas City: Alex Gordon, followed by Emilio Bonifacio, Eric Hosmer, Billy Butler, Salvador Perez, Justin Maxwell, Jamie Carroll, Alcides Escobar, and Gerard Dyson.
Andrew Albers on the hill
For the 5th time for the Minnesota Twins, 2 really, really great starts, 2 so-so starts, and we'll see if he can get back in the I'm going to throw this ball over and quality strikes mode that he was in his first 2 starts.
And Alex Gordon will lead things off. Had the biggest hit for the Royals last night, a 3-run double. Just a week ago, the Twins were in Detroit on their way to winning 2 of 3, and the hope was that the Twins would be able to maintain some good baseball through the rest of the road trip, and now into this homestand that lasts just 3 games. But instead, the Twins had a disappointing weekend in Cleveland and terrible ball game last night. 1-0, Albers to Gordon. He'll be followed by Bonifacio and Hosmer. And 2-0. Anthony's 2-1. That Albers was able to pitch into the 9th inning in his major league debut speaks to his getting ahead of hitters, not just strike 1, but then strike 2. Snap bat. Morneau backhands it. Albers to the bag. 1 away. Most of the bat ended up in short right center field. 1 down, and the Northland Ford defense for the Twins. Josh Willingham in left, Lee Thomas in center. Wilkin Ramirez getting the start in right field. Blue, Florimon, Dozier, Morneau, the infielders. Chris Herman, as has been the case in all of the Albers starts, behind the plate. Hunter Wendelstedt, the home plate umpire. Alan Porter, Greg Gibson, Jerry Lane, the base umps. 1 down, and Emilio Bonifacio, the batter. Royals are getting a real good look at him at second base. Last night he played third base. There's strike 1. You look at the starting lineup for the Royals here tonight, Roy. 3 of the 9 in the batting order were acquisitions in recent weeks for the Royals. Bonifacio, Maxwell, and Carroll. Swing and a miss, 0-2.
The Royals trying to plug in some players into some spots. They thought that they were just a little bit deficient here for the last run pennant drive here, trying to get into the wild card spot.
This is what we saw a lot of in Kansas City. Albers ahead 0-2 and now 1-2.
He made a really good point about how many times he not only got ahead, but got ahead with 2 strikes. And the other thing is that when he did fall behind, when he didn't throw the first pitch over, he threw the next pitch over. He was very rarely 2-0. If he was 1-0, he got 1-1 real quickly.
Call, third strike, 2 down.
And that's a beautiful thing right there. If Hunter Wendelstedt is going to call that pitch right there for Andrew Albers, he's got a chance to have a real nice ball game. Because this young man can throw it down there. We know that. He can throw low strikes. And if the umpire will call that pitch down there the whole game, he's got a real good chance.
So 2 down. And Eric Hosmer, the batter. Royals 13-4 against the Twins this year. Strike 1. The 4 wins have come from unique spots, given the fact that it was Albers in his major league debut, Kyle Gibson in his major league debut, and Samuel DeDuno, who was not on the 40-man roster at the start of the year. And Albers gets ahead 0-2.
We just look at those 2 pitches right there, and I'm always amazed when you see guys in the big leagues that can throw 98. You say, I know how guys can swing and miss that. But it's really wonderful to watch a guy that can pitch, throw the ball by somebody at 88 miles an hour.
Pop up behind third. Bloof chasing it and coming up a step short. A foul ball, still 2 strikes.
Albers has impressed the Royals in their game so far with his ability to throw some off-speed stuff, some change-ups, and here's a good hitter, Eric Hosmer, who's having a good season, and he's swinging the bat well right now. Albers painted the outside corner for strike 1 and then came in on him and with 88 miles an hour on the inside corner and threw it right by him. And that's the beauty of pitching. And it's just fun to watch a guy that throws 88, not 98, do well.
Breaking ball off the plate, 1-2. the ground. Florimone has it from the outfield grass. Off target throw. Morneau with the tag. Hosmer retired, and it's a 1-2-3 first inning. Innings that he's pitched against them. And you can see the Royals would have to have a lot of season series like this one to get back to even par against Ron Gardenhire. The Menards batting order for game 2. Brian Dozier, Wilkin Ramirez, Justin Morneau, Josh Willingham, Trevor Bloom, Chris Herman, Chris Colabello, Lee Thomas, and Pedro Florimone.
Danny Duffy on the mound for the Kansas City Royals. He's been a traveling man this year, up and down between AAA and the big leagues. Hurt his arm a little bit, recuperating, rehabilitating, and getting a chance to pitch in the big leagues again.
First pitch strike to Brian Dozier, who in very limited battles with Duffy, covering a total of 3 at-bats. He's already got 2 extra base hits. Started the ball game. Duffy started against the Twins in Kansas City with a triple. Then later added a double. 0-2. It'll be Dozier, Ramirez, and Morneau.
Brian Dozier hits left-handers real well, hitting them above 300 clip, I think. And we like seeing him up there.
0-2 pitch, got him out in front, a little pop-up, short center field. And Dyson trots in, makes the catch, 1 away. Northland Ford defense for the Royals. Alex Gordon is in left. Gerard Dyson in center. And Justin Maxwell in right. Former Twin Carroll at third. Mike Mustaka still bothered by a strep throat. Escobar, Bonifacio up the middle. Hosmer at first and Perez behind the plate. And just a couple weeks ago, Jamie Carroll was still a member of the Twins. Very well respected by the manager, the coaches, and the Twins players. Here's Wilkin Ramirez. And inside ball 1. Ramirez getting the start in right field. Ryan Doman had a tough game to catch, took some foul balls off the mask. He'll start this day on the bench. Fouled away, 1-1.
In the start in Kansas City, where Duffy really only pitched about 4 innings, maybe even a little bit less, and now so far tonight, I've been impressed with his arm. He's got a very, very nice arm. Live fastball, low 90s, 93, 94. He's got good stuff.
Base hit to left. Ramirez spanks a single with 1 out in the first. And that will bring up Justin Morneau.
Well, here he leaves one up and out over the plate. And that's a spot that Wilkin Ramirez is pretty good. Up and out there. So the Twins have something going here. And I think it's important against left-handed pitching for the right-handers who normally hit left-handers well to do the job. Morneau, some of the other left-hand hitters will battle as hard as they can. But Ramirez, Willingham, Dozier, those guys, I think they need to carry the load against the left-handers.
1 strike to Morneau. And now 1-1. Tom Kelly in the pregame show brought up a good game plan for Andrew Albers and the Twins, and that is get him a lead early. The Twins did that in his debut. They scored 3 first-inning runs before Albers so much as threw a pitch. Foul back, and then in his next start, here at home against Cleveland, they got a first-inning run, and Albers went the distance. And we'll see if they can do anything with this 1-out single in the first.
I think the point that Tom was making is that you can get to a guy like Albers if you make him get the ball up in the strike zone and don't chase. He said that very specifically. And getting a lead for him allows him to throw the ball over the plate down in the strike zone where he wants to be.
Roll to the right side, and out at second is Ramirez. Morneau reaching on a fielder's choice. And that'll bring up Josh Willingham.
Good play by Bonifacio, get the lead runner, even though the ball was to his left, and Ramirez going very hard. Good slide, really good slide into Escobar there, preventing him from throwing. I don't think they would have gotten him anyway, but that removed all doubt.
Still got a lot of fist bumps in the dugout for doing it.
You bet.
Here's Willingham, hitless in 6 at-bats against Duffy. Missing the inside corner, and if this pattern in the first inning continues, Twins right-handed batters will see a lot of pitches in off the plate or near the inside corner. That appears to be what Duffy's game plan is here. Hit hard but foul.
And there's an example of why he wants to go in there. And if you've got a 92, 93 mile an hour fastball, looks pretty straight. You can't live in the center of the strike zone, obviously, against any hitters, but especially good right-hand hitters. You've got to get them in a hurry by thinking you're going to crowd them, make them so that opens up the outside part of the plate.
Down the line. And Gordon with a diving catch in the corner. Very nice play by the 2-time Gold Glove winner, Gold Glove Award winner. Willingham's liner, the 3rd out of the inning. Had a perfect inning. Face the middle of the Kansas City lineup: Billy Butler, Salvador Perez, and Justin Maxwell. Outside, ball one. Butler with an opposite field home run in his final at bat last night. Two and 0. Albers started the first inning by falling behind Gordon. 2-0, ended up getting him on a jam shot. Picking it up when you want to see your guys in the middle of the lineup pick it up. 2-1.
Billy Butler is such a good hitter. Watched him for a long time. In the middle of the diamond, high average hitter, got a lot of base hits, a lot of doubles, didn't hit the ball in the ballpark a lot, but he's becoming better and better, a more mature hitter all the time.
3-1, Perez on deck.
Starting to set up pitches a little bit. He still has a real center of the diamond, opposite alley approach, but he'll pick his spots to look inside and really drive the ball to his pull field, to left field as well. He's become a complete hitter.
Foul back, 3-2. Full count to the leadoff man here in the Kansas City second. Fouled away. We showed you the graphic. His first two starts couldn't have gone better. Nearly 2 complete games, 17 in the third innings, only 6 hits, 1 walk, no runs. And I think the case can be made that he pitched better than the numbers would indicate in each of his last 2 starts. The numbers show 5 earned runs in each of his last 2 starts, 12 2/3 innings total. On the ground, hit right at Dozier. Butler retired, 1 away. 1 gone on the second. Let's go find Kevin Gordon.
Hey guys, tonight's Cold Hard Fact is brought to you by Frostbrewed Coors Light. Interesting numbers here, guys. We've talked about the Royals have had the Twins number all season long. With 13 wins this season against the Twins, KC has the most wins in a season series since recording 14 against the Tigers 10 years ago, back in 2003. The only way the Twins are going to prevent that number from being tied or eclipsed is by winning the last 2 games of this series, and for the first time all year, win a series against the Royals.
Chopper up the line, foul. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, it's been odd. Usually 6 series between divisional opponents. You can count on the Twins winning 4 of them. 1 might be split. Royals might win 1, but it's been so heavily imbalanced in the Twins' favor. This is really peculiar this year. 1 strike to Perez. Up and away, 1-1.
The Royals have improved their club greatly. They really have. They've got an awful lot better on the starting staff over the offseason, and we've seen that. The bullpen is the best in the league, and so that's going to give you a chance to win some games against anybody.
Long run for Clete Thomas, and he won't get there. He'll play the carom, or the carom will play him. It's a double for Salvador Perez, driving the ball over 400 feet off the scoreboard in right center. That'll bring up Justin Maxwell.
Perez wasn't around for the first Albers start in Kansas City, and you don't need a scouting report for this guy to hit a ball up and out over the plate like that. Good hitter, big, strong guy, likes to extend his arms on pitches out over the plate, and he hit this ball a ton. This is a home run everywhere in the world except for here.
Justin Maxwell has put up good numbers since his acquisition by the Royals. Bonifacio's done well since the Royals picked him up. Maxwell fouls it at the plate. A few moments ago I said I thought you could make the case that Albers' last 2 starts have been better than the numbers indicated. First time he gave up a run, it was against the White Sox. He gave up a first inning run and then a 4-run inning in the 4th inning. Viciedo hit a 3-run home run. He finished that outing, however, by retiring the last 10 batters. And then he made a start against the Tigers, and he, I thought, pitched awfully well. 5 2/3 innings, just a couple of runs allowed. Swing and a miss. And then he gave up with 2 outs in the 6th, 3 straight hits. Came out of the ball game. Josh Reneke gave up a 3-run home run, and 2 of those runs tagged on to Albers' total. But I thought in retrospect he gave the Twins an awfully good start that day.
Well, I agree with you, Dick. That's what I mentioned at the top of our show here today. I thought he was 3 or 4 pitches in each start away, each loss there, of being very, very good.
There's a strike. And Maxwell's gone on strikes, 2 down.
And that's what I really like about Andrew Albers. That's a great example of it. When he gets a hitter set up for a certain pitch, he's got him set up for a fastball, a little cutter on the inside, he's able to throw it there and throw it right on the spot. You see a lot of guys, they know they want to go in there, but it'll either be 6-8 inches inside, in which case it allows the hitter to get back in the count, or they leave it back over the plate and the ball will get hammered somewhere. But Albers has the ability so far, in all 5 of them, 4 plus these few batters into this 5th start, to throw the ball pretty much where he wants to throw it.
Jamie Carroll making his first appearance against the Twins since the trade. Hasn't hit much for the Royals since they acquired him, just 1 hit. Had an 0 for 17 skid to start his Kansas City career. Inside. 1 hit, 21 at bats, and Carroll 3 hits away from 1,000 in his career. Runner at second, 2 down. 1-1 to Carroll. Chopper to short. Florimo has it, throws low, and Morneau has to dig it out. 2 errant throws by Florimo in the first 2 innings, and Morneau has saved them both. No score after an inning and a half, and you can vote for who you think is the Arby's value player of the game. Just text value, a space, and the player's last name to 234-234. Let us know who you think had the most value in today's game, and we'll tell you the winner in the postgame show. Trevor Plouffe to lead off the second, then Chris Herman and Chris Colabello. Another hot, muggy night here at Target Field. A brief but yet preparatory homestand for the road trip to follow, where we have 6 games in the state of Texas. Day game tomorrow here between these 2 teams, and then Friday night in Texas. Game time temperature supposed to be just over 100 degrees. 1 strike to Plouffe, hitting just under 300 against left-handers and just over 200 against right-handers. Down and away, 1-1. With all due respect to Danny Duffy, he is not in the same class as the pitchers Andrew Albers normally has to face. Plouffe takes outside 2-1. In his debut, Albers had to face James Shields, the ace of the Kansas City staff. And then 2 starts later against the White Sox, his mound opponent was Chris Sale. In Detroit, it was Justin Verlander. Inside 3-1. For Duffy, he may get there at some point, but he'll have to harness his control. That's been his biggest Achilles heel so far, even before the Tommy John surgery. That's to left center and down for a hit. Luke digs around first. He'll hold up with a leadoff single. And that'll bring up Chris Herman. Now is as good a time as any to get a group together and catch some baseball before the snow flies. Organize your business, church, school, or maybe a couple dozen of your neighbors. Make a game of it. Visit twinsbaseball.com/groups or call 800-33-TWINS. Get a great deal on group tickets today. I'm sure you noticed, being a Southern California native, that I separated the reference to 100-degree temperature to snow falling by no more than a minute. Here's Herman, and there's strike 1.
Sometimes it seems like that's all that the Minnesota atmosphere separates the two. But you're right about Duffy's control issues, both command of the strike zone with his fastball, which is so important, and then being able to consistently get a breaking ball over.
Slow breaking ball. He did it there.
Yeah, that was a very good one. There's an example of the kind of stuff that he has if he can harness it. And you're right in talking about him trying to get in on right-handers. I think we started to say it's very important for a guy that has a straight fastball at 93, 94 to pitch inside a lot, because pitching out over the plate without movement doesn't really help you very much. You know, guys see the ball up and out over the plate, ball straight. All the balls have been hit hard against him. So far, the Twins have hit have been up and out over the plate. He hasn't gotten the hitters in a hurry yet inside.
Back to the mound. Duffy to short, to first, a double play. And Herman taps into a double play. Let's go now to Los Angeles for a Fox Sports 1 game break. See the American League Central with the Tigers losing last night. They're trailing again tonight to Oakland, and the Twins, if they're not careful, are going to be passed by the White Sox. White Sox playing good baseball, winning 8 of their last 10. Here's Colabello, and there is strike 1. Colabello getting the start yesterday, being named the International League's Rookie of the Year and MVP. I'm guessing if you're going to win both those awards, you better do it in the same year. Because if you were the Rookie of the Year in the International League, if you're back for a second year, something went terribly wrong in your career path. Right? I mean, if you're a Rookie of the Year in AAA, you better get a pretty good shot the next year in the big leagues, don't you think? Swing and a miss. Colabello gone on 3 pitches. Twins get a hit, but Duffy faces just 3 men in the inning. Presented by CenturyLink, your link to what's next. By Grand Casino, the best stories start here. And by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, for the everyday competitor in all of us. Last night, 7 scoreless innings to start the game. Tonight, a pair. Escobar, Dyson, and Gordon here in the third. And first pitch, a strike. 85-mile-per-hour fastball down the middle. Strike one.
And strike one, the most important part of that sentence.
Strike two. Do you think it makes as much difference as it used to that the Royals now are facing Albers for the second time? And the reason I ask is, with so much video out there now, by the time Albers pitched against the Indians, they had a full game of his pitches that were, I'm sure, scoured and studied. I know there's no substitute to actually being in the box. But by the time he faced the Indians, they must have had a pretty good idea of what he threw and frequencies he might have. But has that changed at all over the years, do you think?
I think having video helps a lot, but the point that you made about there being no substitute for seeing a guy in person standing in that batter's box against him, I mean, there really is no substitute. You can't tell on video that his delivery is a little sneaky, that it's a little deceptive. You can't really tell exactly how much the cut fastball cuts, and you can't really tell that slow curveball that registers at 65 can really possibly be that slow. You have to get in the box and experience it for yourself, number one. But the other part of that is that if a pitcher is able to throw the ball where he wants to on both sides of the plate, as Escobar fouls off another one, if he's able to work both sides of the plate as effectively as Albers has done and stay out of the middle and get strike one and change speeds, you can see him for 6, 7, 8 times. It doesn't matter. I think about Larry Gura and Catfish Hunter and Jimmy Key. I mean, those guys, Tom Glavine, you knew what he had. Guys saw him for a long time, and he was just able to consistently throw the ball in spots where it was hard for hitters to get a rhythm and really square up the ball enough times to put together any big innings.
3-2. And another foul ball. Escobar having a battle here with Albers, who got ahead of him 0-2. Now some full count fouls. Escobar with a couple of hits against Albers earlier this month. Albers gave up just 4 hits, 2 of them to Escobar, 2 of them to Hosmer. Another 3-2 pitch. And another foul ball. Four 2-strike fouls for Alcides Escobar. .30 innings coming into the game and a total of 11 strikeouts for Albers. So he is the quintessential pitch to contact guy. A wobbler to Florimon, and finally Escobar's put away, 1 down. Dyson will hit, but not until we tell you that you can get interactive with us on our AT&T Twitter poll. We're asking you, which league do you think will be more dangerous in the postseason this year? You can tweet your answer using the following hashtags: AL postseason or NL postseason. And of course, I'm an American League guy, but I really don't know how I would answer that. I've always liked the Tigers. I think they have all the components in place to go very deep into the playoffs. The Red Sox have been a first-place club all year long. Don't hear much about the Rangers, but there they sit on top of a dangerous division, 1-1.
And then you look at the National League and you look at the great pitching staff that Atlanta has and their ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark. And
best record in baseball, Atlanta Braves.
Right. You look at the great pitching staff that the Dodgers have and the way those guys are starting to hit. It's a difficult question. I agree with you.
2-1 to Dyson.
What I think it means is that postseason is going to be really fun. There's going to be some good players competing and some good teams battling each other.
On the ground to Dozier. 2 down. One impressive thing about Albers in his last start, he had given up some hits, 3 of them in 1 inning to the Tigers, but didn't give up a run. Then in the next inning, Ryan Holiday hit a home run. Jackson was aboard at second base, and Miguel Cabrera came to the plate. Now at this point, Albers had thrown in the neighborhood of 50 pitches, had already given up a run, and he got 2 strikes on Cabrera, and the count ran to 3-2. And Albers reached back for a pitch he had not thrown yet to that point. A very slow breaking ball to the best hitter in the game. And he got him to swing and miss way out in front of it. But a very slow breaking ball, I would think, would be a field pitch. And he hadn't really thrown it in the first 3 innings. And yet in this key at bat, with the top run producer in the game at the plate, he felt confident enough in it.
Let's break out something new here for Miguel Cabrera. See how that works.
But you know what I mean? I
know
that
exactly
really,
what you mean.
That made an impression with me, and it had to make an impression with Cabrera because no one had seen the pitch all day long.
And I guarantee you that's what's going on right now between Chris Herman and Andrew Albers. They're holding some stuff back. We haven't seen the big breaking ball. Haven't really seen the changeup. Yeah, I think we might have seen 1 or 2 change-ups, but not steady diet. And what impresses me about Albers, I was thinking about this just a minute ago in that Escobar at bat when he fouled off some of the pitches. You know, just a straight sinker baller depends on keeping the ball down. It got to be down, down, down. But sooner or later, in a long at bat like that, this ball's juiced.
To deep right center, and gone. A home run for Gordon. His 15th of the year, and he just got it over the wall into the flowers. And the Royals get the first run. An Alex Gordon home run.
Yeah, and Albers just contradicted what I was in the middle of saying about how impressed I was with him throwing the ball on the corners where he wants. And here's a ball in the middle of the plate. And I have to tell you now, pretty soon we're going to have to quit throwing the ball out over the plate to Alex Gordon, because that's where he's looking for the ball, especially against left-handers. He was against Thielbar last night when...
Now a bunt attempt. Albers underhands it, makes an easy play on Bonifacio to end the inning. And it's a run for the Royals on a 2-out home run by Alex Gordon. It's 1-0 Kansas City.
Minnesota State Fair, and I'm in front of the fried pickle stand, one of my favorite foods at the fair. But this year, showing something a little different. They got a little powdered sugar on the deep fried pickle. You dip it in chocolate. I'm not real sure about the combination, but we'll give it a try. napkin. Not bad. Not bad. Who knew? Pickles and chocolate? Who knew?
Thank you, Marnie. And I'm just glad it's her eating a deep fried pickle with chocolate and not me. Strike to Thomas, 2 of them now as he leads off the 3rd inning for the Twins. Thomas, Florimon, and Dozier in the Twins' 3rd, down a run to Danny Duffy. There's Duffy's version of the slow breaking ball, left it up high. And Thomas called out on strikes, the 1,119th strikeout for the Twins this year, 2 short of the team record set in '97.
Well, last night, as we're looking at Pedro Florimon, he pitched, Garden called a pitch out, and nobody covered second base. That's on the shortstop. I have to say, even if Dozier is in on that, that's on the shortstop. Infield coach Joe Bible talking to both of them, saying, what the heck is going on? We pitch out, we think the runner is going, and nobody covers. You have to know the signs. You have to look at the signs. What I suspect happened there is that they were pitching out thinking that there might have been a squeeze on, and I think Florimon and Dozier thought, well, as they're throwing through to 3rd. We're not throwing down to 2nd anyway, so why do we need to cover? But that's just not the way to play the game. You have to go ahead and cover second base, just in case. You never know what might happen, and you don't do yourself any good as the pitch is being pitched out, and whatever happens, steal, squeeze, whatever, standing in your position, not doing anything. So I think that's what they had to get straight.
3-1 to Florimon.
And that's what Tom Kelly was alluding to in the pregame show. We got to get some of these things cleaned up. You know, Tom was so great at making sure that the details were covered in Twins behavior out there on the field. And we got some messy details out there right now, a little bit this year. That's what the former skipper was talking about.
Well, here's my understanding of it, and please tell me if I'm wrong, because there's a great likelihood of that. Domet is a 3-2 pitch to Florimon. And a foul back. Domet came out in front of home plate, made the signs saying, all right, if the guy takes off, we are not going to throw through because, well, we think the guy might be trying to come in from 3rd base. But then, from the dugout, the sign was given to pitch out. Now, to me, that's a trump card, is it not?
No, actually, that's not a trump card. That was just a different, nice swing. Good at that right there by Florimon, taking that ball the other way. I sure like seeing him do that right-handed here for a little while. He's been struggling right-handed. Love to see him go the other way, get some hits that way a little bit, trying to get himself back on track. But the pitch out there really was in defense of the squeeze. Okay, and I think that Domet didn't come out and give another sign. After he gave the sign and come back, now they get the pitch out. It would have been okay for him to come back out and give the other sign and say, we're still doing this or that. But it's about, that was about the squeeze, and the guys in the middle infield just kind of relaxed. They thought, well, we're pitching out but not throwing down here. Why do we have to move? And that's just not the way to play the game. Because anything might happen. It might have been a squeeze. The batter might not have been a great pitch out. The batter might have been able to contact the ball in the fair territory. Someone's got to cover second. Someone's got to cover first. I mean, you got to be ready to move out there.
1 strike to Dozier. Florimon checked at first. He is a threat to steal. The Twins don't have many threats like that. Florimon tied for the team lead with 10 steals. Only 41 stolen bases on the season. Florimon has 10 and Dozier has 10. Long hold. And inside, 1-1.
Just one more point about that. I will tell you that in the old days, and I don't know how often teams are trying to steal signs now, but in the old days, we had some guys. There were some guys that could steal signs from managers and coaches and catchers. If your catcher goes out and gives a series of signs, and then they pitch out and nobody moves, you're pretty sure that the sign that he gave was we're throwing the third, and you know that one right now. So just even from a decoy standpoint, you should be moving around like you know what you're doing.
Well, and then too, if you're pitching out, there's no chance of the batter, very little chance of the batter putting the ball in play, and there's always a place for you to go on the baseball field. Right. And if you're a middle infielder, second base is the place to be.
Right. That's where the shortstop should be in that case.
2-1 to Brian Dozier. Wrapped down the line, foul. So I got here about 3 o'clock, and this is what I saw.
Yep. You know, if you're going to mess up that badly, we're not going to have that, boys. This is what Gard is saying. You got to use your head. We're not going to have that kind of stuff. So they did work on some ground balls and some double plays and things like that. But the conversation was not about double plays, at which they've been very, very good this year. The conversation was about, it's more than just making double plays, catching ground balls and the like. This is about using your head and being in the game. And as Tom Kelly said, cleaning up the details, the little things that help you win games.
Fly to center. Dyson is there. Dozier retired, out number 2. That'll bring up Wilkin Ramirez. Now you would think a better chance for Florimone to go. Ramirez with a single to left is first time up. Each of the Twins are about to set a club record for strikeouts. Duffy has a couple of them. He's struck out Colabello and Thomas. And the club record for strikeouts is just 2 strikeouts away, 1,121. We're still in August. And Florimone got a great job.
Yes, please. Thank you, Wilkin. Good job by Wilkin Ramirez right there. I got to tell you, there was going to be no play, and I think Ramirez could see how good a jump that was. And took a fastball right down the middle, not being selfish. Or maybe he was. Maybe he said, I'd rather hit with a guy on second. But he's going to. My man's going to be on second if I don't mess this up.
1 strike to Ramirez. And Florimone dancing off second base.
The things you have to think about as a hitter, and you can't give the pitcher too much credit for being able to throw what he wants to all the time, but Ramirez hit a bullet on a ball out over the plate his first time up. Now you see the catcher has moved in. They're going to pitch him in. You've got to understand that he's, see, there you go. He's trying to throw it in and can't, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be in your mind right now as a hitter. What are these guys going to try to do to me to get me out? And probably I've proven to them that a fastball belt high out over the plate is not the best way to pitch to me, and they're going to try to do something else. So you have to be thinking a little bit about what they're trying to do.
1-1 to Ramirez. Again, the target inside. Swing and a miss. Didn't have many opportunities last night. Of course, the ones they had, they let slip through their fingers against James Shields until the 8th inning. Now a chance, a 2-out hit to the outfield would tie the game. Foul tip, a strikeout to end the 3rd, and it's 1-0 Kansas City. gave up a home run to Alex Gordon with 2 gone in the 3rd inning. It's 1-0 Kansas City. There's our Pepsi fans of the game. Mike Vidnovic on the right, who was up here working stats for us last night, bringing his sister to the ball game. And he's got his phone out, his device out, so he'll be well aware that he has been beamed throughout Twins territory as our Pepsi fan of the game. Eric Hosmer leads off the 4th against Albers. Down and away, ball 1. Hosmer bounced to short to wrap up a 1-2-3 first inning. 2 hits for the Royals. They've both been extra base hits. And the Royals twice have taken target practice on the scoreboard right. Perez hit it, and Gordon lifted one over the scoreboard for the lone run of the game so far. 1-1 to Hosmer. Hit to center. And Thomas makes the catch, 1 away. That'll bring up Billy Butler. You can ask a question at carsoup.com/baseball. Randy over in Elk River, not too far from where I live. Who are some of the names we can expect to see once September call-ups begin? Ultimately, it'll be
it's up to that man right there.
Go over and ask him between innings. I'm sure he has nothing more on his mind right now. I would imagine. Well, it's really going to be interesting. You'd think guys like Hicks and Parmalee, who started the year with the ball club, might get called up, but neither one of them has hit at all well in AAA. Hicks hitting below 200, Parmalee hitting, I think, 230 down in AAA.
Those would be the first names that you would think about, but I would tell you something about Mr. Ryan. It's my impression that he is of a meritocracy bet. He's not one to fail to send a message to someone that was in the big leagues, goes down to AAA. If he doesn't go down there and tear it up down there and doesn't look like he's giving his best effort, he will not be here either, even if you would think that he's a potential future big league player.
Just ask Brian Dozier. He thought he was going to be called up in September, and the Twins said, well, no.
No, didn't quite show the work ethic that we thought ought to happen. He wanted to send a message there, and I think that was a great move on their part. I think it got Brian's attention, and we've seen what's happened this year with his performance. So to answer the question specifically, I don't know. It's hard to tell.
There will be pitchers called up. That's where the biggest need is, especially with an overworked bullpen that the Twins have dealt with. And I suppose it's not out of the question. It depends on Joe Mauer's situation, of course. It's not out of the question the Twins might add yet another catcher. If Joe, whenever he comes back, if it's deemed, look, let's just not put him behind the plate anymore this year. You don't want to have just 2 catchers through September. So, and we don't anticipate that being the case with Joe, but with the concussion situation, you really don't know. 2-2. Chop to third. Plouffe has a play. Morneau can't field that throw. It's the 3rd poor throw fired across the diamond. 2 by Florimon and now 1 by Plouffe. And this one will be charged as an error to Plouffe.
And Trevor has plenty of time here. He takes his time and then kind of aims it over there to first base. And that's one issue I think that Trevor really has some issues with, is throwing the ball over there, especially on plays where he has time. And I went through a stage like that when I was playing shortstop early in my career, and I finally decided that if I was going to throw it away, it wasn't going to be because
There's a deep drive to left. Perez, who doubled to deep right center, his first time up, hits one into the second deck, and it's 3-0. Perez terribly unimpressed with Andrew Albers. He didn't face him in Kansas City in Albers' debut, and he's absolutely crushed 2 of Albers' pitches on 2 swings here tonight.
And watch where this pitch is. A little slider it looked like, and it was just right in the middle of the plate. Just settled right there in the plate for Perez to hit. And this is one thing. He's a pretty smart guy, I think. I've been watching Perez for a while now. And I think he was looking in there after hitting the ball so far out over the plate. Just like we were talking. Now what are they going to try to do to me? I think he saw what Albers did, carving up both sides of the plate in Kansas City against his teammates when he was still recovering from some concussion symptoms. And he was a smart guy and a catcher. And I think he said, okay, I hit the ball out over the plate. Now I'm looking in, because he goes back and forth.
Albers covers the bag. Morneau gets him the ball. 2 down. That'll bring up Carroll. Join Fox Sports North at the Minnesota State Fair now through Labor Day at 1311 Underwood Street across from the Ballpark Cafe. And tomorrow meet Fox Sports North girls Kendall and Jenny from 1 to 5 p.m. You can register to win tickets to your favorite hometown team games, plus autographed Kent Herbeck merchandise courtesy of Carriers, and also record a free sports update. Log on to foxsports.com, click on the upcoming events banner for complete details. Jamie Carroll, the batter, hit a bouncer to Florimone his first time up. Ball 1. This hit to center, and Thomas is there to end the inning. 2 runs for the Royals, 1 earned, 1 unearned, and it's 3-0.
Daniel Duffy so far been pretty good. Line on him. The scouting report, he gets a little wild, but he has not been. And for the Kansas City Royals, a couple of long bombs. One from Alex Gordon, and then this one from Salvador Perez, and it's led to a 3-0 Kansas City lead.
Pitches up to Justin Morneau, ball 1. Morneau reaching a fielder's choice his first time up. Morneau, Willingham, and Plouffe. Most experienced Twins hitters. And now outside 2-0.
Real good inning to get something going here against Danny Duffy for the Twins. Come right back and put some kind of number on the board. Give Andrew Albers, keep him in the game, keep him working hard. Give the bench, get everybody excited. Don't let this game get out of hand and get a little sleepy here. Come right back.
So through a high fastball, 2-1. Right center field, hanging in the air for Maxwell. He makes the catch, 1 away. And that'll bring up Willingham. Twins tickets remain available and affordable, and the price starting at just $8. A lot of baseball left at Target Field, and you can check out the Steal of the Week and demand-based pricing for more great deals on single game purchases all season long. Every day of the week you can find something new at twinsbaseball.com/tickets or by calling 800-33-TWINS. Not much of a homestand here. 3 games in less than 72 hours. Strike one to Willingham, but when we come back from the Texas trip, Twins have 3 with Toronto, 3 with Oakland, 3 with Tampa, 3 with Detroit, and 4 with Cleveland before the season wraps up. 16 of the remaining 23 games here at Target Field after the Twins go through Texas. 2 strikes to Willingham. Off the plate, 1 and 2. Short left. Gordon hustling in. He's there for the catch. Another fly ball out. 2 down. That'll bring up Plouffe. Plouffe with a single leading off the 2nd inning, but then Herman bounced into a double play. Twins knew they were going to face a Kansas City lefty tonight. They thought it was going to be Bruce Chen. But then yesterday, as the Royals were getting ready to open the series, they decided to call up Duffy, move Chen to tomorrow, and send Wade Davis to their bullpen. Strike on the outside corner, 1-1. Two. And a strikeout of Plouffe ends the inning, and the Twins have tied their 12th record for strikeouts in the season.
We're standing smack dab in the Minnesota State Lottery winner's circle. 100 scratch-off tickets for the birthday boy, 73 years young, a former Marine. Richard, what's your favorite part about being here on your birthday?
Well, my favorite part is being alive. Last year at this time, I was in intensive care. They didn't expect me to live.
You're doing pretty well. You just shot 43 on the front 9.
Shot 43 in the front 9, but I lost. My opponent had a 41, but still I was within 2.
Within 2, and you're going to get 100 scratch-off tickets for your birthday all the way down from Clear Lake from one Richard. Guys, back to another. Pretty cool deal.
Good to have you with us. See if the Twins can get this game turned around behind 3-0. Alcides Escobar will lead off the fifth against Andrew Albers. This one lifted to right. And Ramirez is there for the catch. Quick first out. Let's go now to Los Angeles for a Fox Sports 1 game break. Thank you very much. Last night it was Justin Verlander. Tonight Doug Fister getting absolutely ripped to shreds by the A's. One strike the count to Gerard Dyson. The Tigers showed some vulnerabilities to the Twins. Now a really good Oakland team, a hot team, throttling them tonight in a big series coming up this weekend. If the Indians can drive to left center field and Willingham won't catch it, and Dyson can run like the wind. It's a ground rule double. Twins got a break there.
That is a break.
Dyson has to hold at second, and it's a one-out double in the fifth.
These left-handed hitters against Andrew Albers just look like they're looking for the ball out over the plate, looking to go in the middle of the field someplace. Dyson, not known for his power, hit that ball a long ways, and the Twins did catch a break. He's on third, standing up if that ball stays in the ballpark.
Here's Gordon, the big 3-run double last night, and he started the scoring tonight with a home run into the flowers over the scoreboard. Took off to second, and Dyson back easily.
Well, I'm just going to vote right now for let's not throw Alex Gordon a fastball out over the plate. This is where he's looking for the ball against left-handed hitters, and I don't think it's a bad plan at all. Left-handers don't like to come in on left-hand hitters, but Gordon is just feasting on the ball out over the plate. That's where he's looking for it.
Gets one on the outer half, taken for a strike. Every time they try to move him out of the leadoff spot into the middle of the lineup, things don't go well for him or the Royals. So for now, they'll leave him in the leadoff spot. One strike. Lifted to left, and Willingham retreats a few steps. Dyson setting up for a possible tag, and with him, you have to be very careful. Not many times will a runner tag from second go to third, but Dyson a candidate to do just that. 2 down. And that'll bring up Bonifacio.
Better pitch there to Alex Gordon. The slider moving away from him, even though he's looking out over the plate, different speed, a little bit further out. But 2 nights in a row now against left-handers. Last night against Caleb Thielbar, as I started to say earlier, Gordon's a home running back. Just went up there looking for the ball out over the plate, got it, hit the bases loaded double to break the game open, and then the same exact pitch from another left-hander tonight. He hit in the seats. Really got to move his eyes around a little bit, because he looks to me to be locked in against left-handers, looking for fastballs right out of the plate. Here's where it was. Look at this pitch. That's the ball he's looking for right there. The ball out over the plate. He's just convinced himself that left-handers aren't going to come in, and so he's looking for it. Right there's the same. There is the exact same pitch. And you've got to move him off of that zone right there. You've got to pound him in a little bit, and so you don't get to just stand up there and look for that pitch.
Strike one to Bonifacio. Struck out looking in the first, trying to bunt his way aboard right after the Gordon home run. And Albers easily threw him out. The knuckles back to the screen, 2 strikes.
Catchers need to pay attention too to what hitters are doing up there. And I noticed a pitch last night early in Alex Gordon early at bat against Correa, where Correa threw one right on the inside corner, or just off. It didn't miss by much if it missed. And Gordon really straightened up like it really shocked him that the ball was in there. If you're a left-hand hitter, believe me, I like the ball from the middle of the plate in. I wanted to pull the ball. If you're looking in there, that doesn't shock you. That pitch, you might take it, but you take it comfortably because you're looking for a ball in there. If it's just off the plate, you might take it comfortably. If you're shocked, then somebody's got to notice that he's not looking for the ball in. He's looking for the ball out over the plate.
Dyson to third, and he'll steal easily. And a stolen base. 1 and 2 to the batter. Like he got there in 5 steps.
Yeah, he just had kind of timed Albers. He's been giving him one look back there and then going to the plate, and so he waited for the one look, and when Albers turned his head back to the plate, he just took off.
High and tight, 2 and 2.
Yeah, that's a little better. I like that pitch an awful lot. He wasn't throwing up around his head to try it and hit it, but you got to move guys. Let the guys know that you're coming in there every once in a while, and most big league hitters won't be intimidated by that, but it'll register with them that you're coming in there once in a while.
Slow breaking ball lofted to right. Easy catch for Ramirez, and that ends the inning. 3-0 Kansas City.
Twins coming to bat in the bottom of the 5th, down 3-0. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Minnesota Twins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Minnesota Twins.
Chris Herman leads off the 5th against Danny Duffy. And a swing and a miss. Herman, Colabello, and Thomas, and then Florimone if somebody reaches, and all those guys are a high percentage strikeout guys. The Twins have tied the team mark for strikeouts in a season. 1,121, set by the 1997 Twins team of Rich Becker, Marty Cordova, Scott Stahoviak. The 97 Twins, about the only highlight for them. There's a foul off of Perez. That was the year Brad Radke won 20 games, but the team won only 68. And we have more than a month to go yet. One and two to Herman. Bounced into a double play his first time up. Popped up. Short left. Gordon. Dyson. It's Gordon. One down. Fans, if you're looking for something extra special to take home after a game at Target Field, you can check out the kiosk at the ballpark that has a vast array of game-used merchandise. From bats to balls to jerseys, all items used in a game here at Target Field. And you can check it out between gates 29 and 34 out in right field. Next time you're at a ball game, stop by and find something unique. Get tickets by calling 800-33-TWINS or twinsbaseball.com. Joe Mauer's bat is here. Joe Mauer is not. Still no timetable set for his gradual return to the lineup. Colabello struck out on 3 pitches in the second. And he strikes out, or swings and misses on the first pitch here in the 5th. Seen a lot of that this year, not just from Colabello. Some of the veteran hitters that the Twins have been over anxious at the plate. Last night, Will Smith came in and he struck out Chris Herman and Justin Morneau on 7 sliders, and none of, excuse me, there was 1 fastball high and tight to Morneau, but it wasn't a strike. He didn't throw 1 strike, and he got 6 swings and misses. Called strike 1 and 2.
As I look at Chris Colabello, and I see some of the monstrous home runs he's hit, and I can imagine some that he hit AAA, but he hit some long bombs to center and right field. And he stands a long way away from the plate, which means he ought to be trying to hit the ball, which would mean that that's where he wants to hit the ball. When you're off the plate, I mean, a guy's stance at the plate will dictate to you a lot what he's trying to do. If he's standing up on top of the plate, he wants the ball in, he wants to put it. If he's standing away from the plate, he wants the ball out away from the plate, and he wants to hit the ball the other way. Now, that's a long way from the plate. But you see, he's got an open stance, and he swings at the ball like he's trying to pull it. Now, those two things are contradictory to me. See how he's flying open there. I mean, he has the ability to hit the ball in the upper deck in right center field here in Target Field. I mean, he can hit the ball a long ways. And Tom Brunansky, the hitter coach, has been. Now watch the swing. Now, this is not a swing trying to go to right field. See his front hip goes. As soon as that front hip goes like that, the bat slows down. Watch his front hip. He steps and it opens, and now the bat is way too late. Now, if you're going to swing like that, then you've got to get up on top of the plate, make the ball be in on you, and that way the ball will get there quicker to you, and you've got a chance, in my humble opinion. I'm not the hitting coach. I do know that Tom Brunansky has been working with him, trying to get him to hit the ball to right field and right center like he did in AAA. And I'm guessing that he's just messed up right now, trying to do too much in the big leagues when he came up here, and got himself in some bad habits. But it really looks to me like for Colabello, if he's going to stand a long way from the plate, he needs to close up his stance and just make up his mind he's going to hit the ball to right field, because there's no downside. He can hit the ball out of the ballpark there.
1 and 2 to Thomas. Just outside 2 and 2. Duffy has pitched very well for the Royals here, giving up just 3 singles. Picks up 2 more strikeouts in a 1-2-3 5th inning.
And we'll look at some home run pitches, and I'm going to tell you that mid-thigh high in the middle of the plate's a cookie for a left-handed hitter, and it turned out to be so for Alex Gordon. And then a cutter that wanted to be inside, Alvarez wanted inside to Perez, didn't quite get it in there, and that ball was launched in the second deck in left field.
Hosmer dribbles it up the line. Easy play from Morneau. To the bag, one down. Billy Butler will bat, but first we will take a look at our Sanford health report. Robinson Cano hit in the left hand by a pitch last night in Toronto, but not in the Yankee lineup tonight. And it seems like half the 24 home runs were hit against the Twins this year. That's probably just my impression. The Yankees have had that type of a year. Just got Derek Jeter back in at least in a very short term. Cano lost to them for a while. One strike to Billy Butler. Reached on a Trevor Plouffe throwing error. Foul away. 2 strikes.
Well, you're right, Dick. It does seem like Cano hit an awful lot of home runs, but I'm against the Twins. That's the bad news. The good news is I just love watching that guy hit. He can really hit. He's got a beautiful, beautiful approach at the plate.
Foul back. Two strikes. Some people think that this will be Robinson Cano's last year with the Yankees. I'll believe that when I see it, but straight up in the air. Albers wants it. And finally Morneau says, we're both from Canada and I'm taller than you are. Or words to that effect. 2 down.
I think he said, I have it, eh? Boy, he pitched really, really nicely. It did Andrew Alvarez to Billy Butler that time. Inside corner, outside corner, back inside. Really, really a well-pitched at bat right there. And the young man has pitched well. He's thrown much like the White Sox start.
Perez glares out at the mound, takes his helmet off.
He's saying, if you want to hit me in the ribs, not in my head.
And Albert,
he wasn't trying to hit him.
And now warnings given, because not so much of where the pitch was, but how the batter reacted. Pitch looked like it was over the inside corner.
You know, guys are so sensitive about that now. That's one of the biggest changes that I've seen in the game. The pitch, he reacted like that. The ball was a little bit close, but I mean, he's crushed the ball twice.
And lines it foul, 1-1.
If you watch this pitch that comes in, you know, you see where Herman caught it. He wasn't that close. What he's reacting to, saying, if you want to hit me in the ribs, not in my head. Neither one of it was intended, neither ribs nor head. It was a really good pitch to say you can't just hit me. You can't just hit the ball against me hard every time you walk up there. I'm coming inside. Make you thinking about that. Now watch, this ball is not that close. It's in a little bit. Yeah. But he went down and he reacted because he knows that it looked like such a purpose pitch because he's crushed the ball twice. And that's the way you answer. That's exactly the way you answer as a hitter. You don't have to talk about it. You don't have to threaten anything. You don't have to get the benches warned. You get up there and be a man and try to knock him off the mound. This is great. I'm sorry. I'm for the Twins and for Andrew Alvarez, but that's a great at bat by Salvador Perez. That's the way you answer that stuff.
He's hit 3 rockets against Albers, a double off the scoreboard in right center. Plouffe has it go off his glove, picked up by Florimone. And I suspect Plouffe will get charged with another error there, and the inning continues. A throwing error earlier on Plouffe. Now Maxwell's ground ball off his glove to Florimon. And Plouffe is charged with the error. After the first error, Perez hit the very next pitch into the upper deck and left. Now if Jamie Carroll does that, the Royals may carry him off the field. I don't know that Jamie Carroll could hit one into the second.
You'll have to wake me up off the floor.
Inside, ball one. I asked Ron Gardenhire yesterday, I said, of the players you've managed, would Jamie Carroll be most like you? And in typical self-deprecating style, Gardy said, no, Jamie Carroll could hit. I couldn't hit. Here's a fly ball to center. Thomas has it, and that ends the inning. And Albers kind of veered toward Perez. Perez veered toward the dugout. End of issue. A scoreless sixth. It's 3-0 Kansas City.
Watching Andrew Albers on the hill tonight for Minnesota. He's one of the many young pitchers in the Twins system, and that's the subject of tonight's Grand Casino Social Spotlight. We want you to tweet in with which young Twins pitcher in the organization you are most excited about, and go ahead and tell us why as well. Use the hashtag YouthGoneWild to share your thoughts, and we will share our favorites in our post-game show. Dick and Roy.
All right, thank you, Jamie. Tom Kelly said that Andrew Albers has been the talk of the town. He was after his first two starts. Funny thing happens. You don't give up any runs. Fans tend to get excited about you as a pitcher.
I would say.
Florimon takes up an away ball one. Florimon with one of the three Twins hits. He has the most recent Twins hit, a one-out sharp single to right. He stole second and was left there. Florimon's average from this side of the plate starting to recover, and he's had better at bats. And it's tough. I would imagine you could relate to it better than anybody as a switch hitting shortstop. Just when you start feeling good, particularly from the right side of the plate, then you have a series of or two of games. Here's a ball hit into center. Dyson won't be able to get there. Another hit for Florimon. Then you don't see a left-hander for a while, and that wonderful feeling you had from the right side is gone before you ever really get to enjoy it. Now's time to take a look at the Firestone Complete Auto Care Extra Mile Index. Most extra base hits among second basemen this season. And Brian Dozier on that chart.
Bunch of really good names on that little graphic right there, to which Brian Dozier has added his name, and good for him. Almost all of them happening here in since June the 1st. He's really come on. He's been a lot of fun to watch.
A couple of fly balls to center so far. You know, if you're a left-handed batter or a switch hitter hitting left-handed, and you start feeling pretty good, you might see 2, maybe 3 left-handers in a row, but you're gonna face a right-hander right around the corner. But sometimes you go
in the same game when if your teammates will get that left-hander out of there
That's
for you,
right.
you'll see a right-handed reliever maybe.
But it's tough when you're struggling from the right side and you start feeling a good vibe, and then you don't face left-handed pitchers.
It really is hard. I was talking with Ryan Dolman about it during the last homestand. He came over and said, okay, let's talk switch hitting, because he doesn't feel comfortable right-handed right now. Feels real good left-handed, which is the way with most of us, because as you say, we see so many more right-handers. All during our career, our young careers, as we get to the big leagues, most everybody right-handed pitchers. You tend to be better left-handed than right-handed anyway, and you're right, Dick. When you, as a switch hitter, you start getting going well right-handed, and then not see left-handed for a while, and you're still taking batting practice, but it's not the same.
Perez with a snap throw to first, with a nice dig.
One thing that Ryan and I totally agreed with each other about is that you are 2 completely different hitters that need the same amount of batting practice from both sides of the plate if you're a switch hitter, and it's very difficult to get there. There aren't too many left-handed batting practice throwers around either.
You came back to the Twins. Your manager was your left-handed batting practice pitcher, right? Don Kelly?
Yep, he threw a lot of batting practice. And was good at it.
Dozier shoots one foul, still 2 strikes.
We'll see how Brian does here with a 2-strike count, but that foul ball right there is an example of what I've talked about with Brian Dozier. He kind of changes his program with 2 strikes, waits a little longer, tries to shoot the ball the other way.
Takes a close pitch, 1-2.
There's a changeup that we've seen a lot of Twins hitters swinging and missing, and it's because they're concerned about getting out front on that fastball, and they see the ball come out of his hand, looks like a fastball, and they're way out in front of him. Brian's waiting a little bit longer, trying to hit the ball the other way, protecting the 2 strikes.
Another fly ball to center. Dyson will gather this one in. 1 away. We'll bring up Wilkin Ramirez now on FoxSportsNorth.com. Jerry Kill's hooky note allowing you to attend Thursday's Gophers game. The Vikings' Joe Webb's transition from quarterback to wide receiver. And 5 things to watch in tomorrow's Vikings-Titans game. Runner on, 1 out, and here's Wilkin Ramirez. Pulled a single to left and struck out swinging. Twins down 3-0, but again, Florimone, one of the few guys in the lineup capable of stealing a base. He's already stolen 1. Pop up over the Twins dugout out of play. Texas beat Seattle 12-4. They shredded Felix Hernandez today at Safeco Field. Mentioned Doug Fister got ripped by the A's. And on the Twins side, Twins are trailing 3-0, but Andrew Albers, 2 earned runs in 6 innings, a quality start, even though he's given up 2 very long home runs. A check swing, but a strike. And it's 0-2 to Ramirez.
Well, what I find interesting about Albers' night so far, you had a quality start, only 2 earned runs given up through 6 innings, and the guy that's really hitting the hardest was the guy that did not see him over there. We're talking about, well, are they going to get to him now the second time around? I guess the answer is pretty much no, because Perez has gotten to him the first time around.
Royals have 5 hits. Perez has 3 of them.
Now it's time for the Twins to get going. We're rattling the bats around here a little bit. Good jump there.
Got another good jump. Perez had no chance to throw out Florimone. So there are stolen bases, and then you try to find something encouraging here. Florimone has stolen 2 bases against a left-handed pitcher. Yeah, that's a great challenge than a right-hander.
That's a great point. I was just thinking about that. As he matures as a player, one of his real weapons, if he can get on first base enough times, is that he can steal a base. He gets going very quickly, gets a top speed in a step or two. But the fact that he's reading left-handers, and that wasn't just a go on first movement. That was that actually was a read the move, identify correctly, and get a good jump. And that's very encouraging.
2-2 to Ramirez. Twins have had only 2 base runners to second base. In each case, it was Florimo who singled and stole second. They've yet to get a runner to third. And that's flipped into the seats. Duffy making his second start this year against the Twins. Starting back on August 7th. Chopper to short. Florimon will get to third. And Escobar to Hosmer. Hosmer just barely kept that ball in the glove. That almost rolled through his webbing. 2 down for Morneau. Sure what happened on this throw. It was low. And he just barely was able to squeeze it. He trapped it in the trapper.
Sometimes the ball will come in and hit your hand in a funny spot, maybe just below the palm toward the heel, and the ball will roll in your glove a little bit, and you end up with a little snow cone there.
Outside to Morneau, ball 1. Morneau 0 for 2. Reached in a fielder's choice in the first, hit a fly ball to right in the fourth. Average down to 260. A week ago, Justin was swinging the bat as well as we've seen him in quite some time in Detroit. Didn't have a good series in Cleveland. And hit the ball hard in quite a while. 1-1. Skied it to right. And Maxwell will wait a long time. Third out. End of inning. Florimon left at third. It's still 3-0. Home runs.
And only 2 really bad pitches in the game that Andrew Albers has thrown. One to Alex Gordon and one to Salvador Perez, and they did not miss them. Both of them long home runs. That's why the Royals have gotten their 3 runs. The Twins have gotten nothing going against Danny Duffy. He's had a good live fastball, occasional slider, but he's struck out a lot of guys, not given it. Twins much of anything, or at least the Twins have not figured out a way to have a plan up there against him that they can execute yet.
Alcides Escobar leads off the 7th against Andrew Albers. And a bunt, foul, 1 strike. Albers with a quality start as he begins the 7th inning. Talked about Florimon and his struggles at the plate, principally from the right side. Last year, the Royals thought that Escobar had figured it out, that he was going to be someone that they could count on. He had crossed a threshold. He had 293 last year. Fouled away. But he's regressed to the type of hitter he was in Milwaukee before the trade. He's hitting 235. Doesn't have much power. Has some speed. Very good defensively, but those are all the things that we say about Pedro Florimon. Fouled away again.
Well, 260 or 270, and I think from Escobar here, and I think the Royals would be very, very happy. If we looked at Pedro Florimon there, 260 or 70 for him would be, the Twins would be ecstatic with that, with all the things he can do defensively and the way he can run. But they're young hitters, especially Florimon. I think Florimon as a switch hitter has got to.
There's that slow breaking ball, and it's chipped into center field. Caught by Thomas Florimon. Bring up Dyson. The Fox Sports Girls Fantasy Football Draft is back. Tune in live to foxsports.com/fantasy draft tomorrow to see who the North girls select. Hosted by Patrick O'Neill and fantasy expert Ryan Fowler. The draft kicks off tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central. Streaming live on foxsports.com/fantasy draft. Going down on the 7th. Here's Dyson. There's a nice bunt. Albers bare hands it. Safe at first on a close play. So a well-placed bunt. It was Dyson who dropped it down last night with the bases loaded and scored a run. And in each case, he just dropped it down in a perfect spot.
Yes, he did. And the reason he was able to do that is because he stayed alone. Watch how long he stays with his head still. He bunts the ball first and then takes off. I would like all the Twins' potential bunters for hits to have watched that. That was the perfect way to bunt. That's the Rod Carew. Watch this. He bunted. Now you run. Get a good pitch to bunt, put it in a good spot, and then run. And Albers made a terrific play. He bounced off. He made the play as well as any Gold Glove pitcher could make it. Reminded me of Jim Cott. Bouncing off, pick up bare hand, turning fire. But the ball was placed so well, and Dyson runs so well that he gets a base hit. And so many guys think they've got to be moving out of that box, you know, to get it going, and then they end up either making a bad bunt or fouling it off or bunting at a bad pitch.
Gordon, the batter.
Just like when you're hitting, you've got to keep your head still in order to see the ball and make sure it's a good pitch and do what you're trying to do.
Close play, Dyson back. No one has even attempted a stolen base against Albers until Dyson's steal of third in the 5th. Now Dyson's at first. Gordon missed that by a foot. 1 strike. Well, you were talking about bunting, but I think it's true probably across the board. Casey Fiend warming up. Players have to be receptive to instruction. And since you talked about bunting, I won't name the player, but a few years ago with Rod Carew in camp, working with some of the less experienced ball players about bunting, guys with speed and guys who should be able to pick up a cluster of bunt singles over the course of the season. The ball flipped foul. This particular player said he didn't seek out Carew because he already was a good bunter and didn't really feel he needed to improve that part of his game. Now the fact of the matter is that particular player was a terrible bunt, but simply outran some bunts for base hits. I mean, one bunt would go back to the mound, the next two would be in foul territory, and then 1 out of 4 maybe was placed near the foul line for a bunt hit.
Yeah, Ted Williams came up and offered me some advice one time. I said, no, I got it.
Yeah. I'm sure that did not happen.
I got this. If Rod Carew wants to come up and help you bunting, I think you stand there and work on it with him. And I agree with you.
2 strikes. And they pitch out. Nobody going.
But here's what Rodney did. Rodney did exactly what we were talking about. The only reason that I hit in front of him for 3 years. I saw him do it so many times. His head was still, and he was not moving when he bunted the ball. Just like a good hitter will be, his head will be very still. But the other thing was Rodney got a good pitch to bunt. Just like a good hitter will get a good pitch to hit. You can't bunt a bad ball any better than you can hit a bad ball. You know, and Rodney took a lot of strikes. Starting to bunt, he took it because the pitch wasn't conducive to him bunting it where he wanted to bunt it, so he just took it. Guys nowadays, they make up their mind, I'm going to bunt, and you can throw it anywhere. You can throw it 3 feet over the head. They're going to try to bunt the ball now. It's amazing to me.
Pitches they would never consider swinging at, they will try to bunt. 1-2. There goes Dyson. Pitch swung on and fouled. Dyson will have to go back to first.
Gordon saw the 67-mile-an-hour slow curveball for the first time, and he was a good hitter to show that pitch too.
Spread of 22 miles per hour. And I'll bet you between 67 and 89 over the course of 6 1/3 innings, he's hit every digit on the speedometer. You know what I mean?
Everyone in between there?
Everyone in between. I mean, that's what impresses me about him. Now, that pitch was 75 miles per hour. And with rare exception, the next pitch, whatever it is, will either be a little bit faster, 3 miles per hour faster, 3 miles per hour slower, but not the same speed.
Right. It's absolutely right. And most times not in the same location, not even close. He's so good at being on one corner or the other. And that's what I like about it, about the way he goes about it.
1-2. Another throw to first. And if it had been on the other side of the bag, they might have had Dyson leading.
I really would like to see him come in off the plate here to Gordon. As we look at the Kansas City Royals have become a very good running club. I'd really like to see it in there. He's going in. Good pitch. You see him diving out over the plate like that, and he's been looking for that pitch out there for 2 games now, and that's the first ball that has come in from a left-hander. Good call by Herman and great execution by Andrew Albers. Come in there hard. He's diving over the plate. Then he realizes, oh, that might be a strike, and the ball's in on him before he knows it. Almost hits himself with it. Now he's set up for some other pitches.
Another 1-2 from Albers.
Now he's going back out away after showing him that one. Now he's got the slider. If he had gotten that just a little further out, he'd have gotten it.
So what have we seen here? We've seen 79, 87, or 75, 87, and 79 now, I believe, the last 3 pitches.
Right, and I would come right back in there with that same pitch again that tied him up so badly. Bert Blyleven has talked about this, and we've talked about it during broadcast together. Bert said, you know, you come in there and then come in there again, really convince him that that wasn't just an accident, really convince him that you might be thinking about it. But he's going to throw in something slower on the outside, I think.
Right to Morning. Out at second. Good. 3-6-3 double play. 7 good innings again tonight for Andrew Albers, but the Twins find themselves behind 3-0. by McDonald's. Try the new Premium McWrap at McDonald's today. I'm loving it. By Toyota, let's go places. To find your nearest Toyota dealer and check out our current offers, visit buyatoyota.com. And by the Minnesota Department of Public Safety. Josh Willingham starts the Twins' 7th inning, takes strike one. Twins were almost shut out last night, and they've been shut out so far here tonight, 3-0. Willingham with a line out to left. Nice play by Alex Gordon in the corner, and then a fly ball to left field. Strike two. Willingham, Plouffe, and Herman in the 7th. Pitched another good ball game, and we were all interested how the Royals would fare against Albers, having seen him once before. Popped up back and out of play. He had faced everybody else in the American League Central once in order: Kansas City, Cleveland, Chicago, Detroit, and now his second start against the Royals, and it was a quality start. 3 runs earned, or 3 runs, 2 of them earned on the 2 home runs.
And look, pitch to contact guys, you should call them pitch to bad contact. I mean, they're not just, they're not trying to pitch to the barrel of the bat for contact. They're trying to pitch to bad contact, and he does that. He did it well again tonight, except for 3 pitches. Basically 3 pitches, 2 to Perez and 1 to Gordon.
Off-speed pitch freezes Willingham, a strikeout for the first out of the 7th, and that'll bring up Plouffe. Even when the game isn't on, you can still see all the plays and at-bats that matter most during Twins Squeeze Play, a 30-minute condensed version of select non-televised Twins games. You catch the action tomorrow night, Twins Squeeze Play at 7 o'clock, only on Fox Sports North. Game in the afternoon should be toasty warm for that. And we are not televising it. We will be packing our bags for Texas, where it'll be toasty warm.
Balmy.
1-0 to Plouffe. He has 1 of the 4 Twins hits. They've all been singles, 2 of them by Florimone. Inside 2-0.
So Trevor gets a chance now in his 3rd at bat against Duffy. He's seen a lot of his fastballs. He knows what the speed is. He should be looking for exactly the pitch that he wants here. And here's an important point, I think, when you're a hitter, when you get in a count that's in your favor. Tom Kelly talked about this in the pregame show. Look for zones in which you want to offer up pitches. And when you get to 2-0, your zones should get smaller and smaller. And then don't swing at it, even if it's a strike, if it's not in the zone that you want.
We got a high fastball.
That was it. That was the one he wanted right there. And, you know, when you're messed up a little bit, that's the problem. You get your foul back pitches that you really want to hit. It's tough to hit 94 miles an hour in the outside corner. It's a lot easier to hit in the middle, and he got one in the middle and missed it.
Foul into the seats, 2-2.
So now you see pitch on the outside corner. Now he's back to 2-2, and he's got to fight for his at bat life here. I think very important point about hitting. Swing at pitches that you want to swing at, and when you get them, don't miss them.
In the dirt, 3-2. You and I have talked about this before. You mentioned Ted Williams, but every interview I saw or heard from him when someone asked the inevitable question, what's the key to hitting? And he said, get a good pitch to hit. And then either he said it or it was inferred, then don't miss it.
Well, missing a good pitch to hit never occurred to Ted. He didn't do that very much. And I don't know if you remember, some fans may remember the great Sports Illustrated interview with Ted Williams about the art of hitting. And they had him in his stance, and there were the baseballs put in every spot around the strike zone, and the batting average that he said he would hit if he had to swing at that pitch.
Right off the end of the bat, foul.
And so the pitch on the knees on the outside corner, it was at 240. And the pitch on the inside corner about belt high is about 390 or 4. There were some pitches in the middle of the plate. He said he hit 430 if he got that every time. And so his point was, I'm going to look for the pitches where I have the best chance of success and then take everything else.
Lifted to right in the ballpark. Maxwell puts it away out number 2.
And the point there is until you get 2 strikes. And then when you get 2 strikes, now things change, and you have to be able to be defensive and hit more pitches. But what we see so much of the time now in big league players, as good as they are, is guys that get themselves in tough counts because they're they're taking 2 strike swings at balls before they get to 2 strikes. And you're just kind of giving away at bats at that point.
Here's Herman, bounced into a double play, hit a fly ball to left. Outside, ball 1. 100 pitches for Duffy, and remarkably for him, 70 strikes. It's a guy that has been strike challenged in his professional career. And swing and a strike, 1-1.
See, there's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. That high fastball is not Chris Herman's pitch. He is a low ball hitter, and this pitch is not his pitch. He's got it 1-0. Now, instead of it being 2-0, or at worst 1-1 because you took it because it wasn't your pitch, now he's going to get himself in a hole. Now he has to start swinging. There's a pitch that you want to fight off when you've got 2 strikes, not when the count's 1-1.
Now it's 1-2. He saw a steady diet of sliders last night from Will Smith. He may see another one here on 1-2. And he dunks it to left. Not sure what part of the bat he made contact with the baseball, but he'll take a 2-out single.
He does not care at this point.
Ned Yost coming to the mound, and Danny Duffy in his first year back from Tommy John surgery, very likely will be taken out here.
You see Herman here recognizing slider a little bit late, but staying in long enough to, as you put it, doink the ball to left field. And
called up to make the start tonight, and it was a good night for Danny Duffy. Well against the Tigers a couple of weeks ago. No earned runs over 6 innings, and another good one tonight against the Twins. Can swing for the fences with the new Home Run Derby mobile game from MLB.com. Available for iPhone and iPad and select Android devices. Download free today. Take your own cuts in baseball's Home Run Derby. Luke Hochshaver just off the paternity list, just back with the ball club today, making his 45th appearance of the year. And he will be pitching to Chris Colabello.
You know what's funny about Hochshaver is my impression of him as a starter. Look at here in this graphic, the strikeouts to walks. Very good ratio, 58-16 strikeouts to walks. And my impression of him when he was a starter was that he battled control issues and walked a lot of guys, give at least the Twins when he pitched against them big inning potential because he was walking guys, and he's not doing that out of the bullpen evidently.
Strike on the outside corner. Hochevar, I remember here in Minnesota, pitched a great ball game with Jason Kendall, pretty much skippering Hochevar through the ball game, calling the game. But other than that, my impression similar to yours. Hochevar, a guy you could pretty much count on him throwing 20-25 pitches an inning. But that hasn't been the case this year. 1 strike to Colabello. Half swing. I don't think he went 1-1.
Well, he is a bit of a head scratcher for the Royals, and you can understand he's got great stuff, a great arm, 95, 96 mile an hour fastball, hard slider. He does have really, really good stuff. They drafted him and expected him to be a real horse as a starter, and that didn't work out. But he's pitching much better out of the bullpen.
Down and away.
See, those takes right there, like Colabello, those are not takes of a guy that's trying to hit the ball to right field. You see his bat come forward, and he's just checking his swing on a slider. If you're trying to hit the ball to right field, which is where his strength is, you're waiting longer, you see that ball longer, you're not offering at it quite so quickly. And you can tell that the young man's just a little bit messed up right now, because I do not believe that was his approach. What we're seeing right now was his approach in AAA.
2-1. Pitch there right down the middle of the plate. Fouled it back 2-2.
As I mentioned before, Tom Bernansky, hitting coach, working very hard. Bruno recognizes that this young man's ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark and to right center field, and that's what they've been working on. I've sat and watched them in cage sessions in batting practice, and off the tee, and Bruno flipping them the ball. They work at it. They work at it every day.
Hit high, but not deep enough to right field. Maxwell. That's David Lowe out there now. No, it's Maxwell. That ends the 7th inning. Get ready for the 8th inning. CenturyLink link to what's next. Tell us about Casey Fiend.
We'll get my microphone adjusted here. Casey Fiend, a real battler. Ron Gardenhire likes the way he comes right at here. His fastball that's developed into a cut fastball that he likes a lot. Good fastball, real good strike to walk ratio. Been roughed up on here a little bit lately, but he's done a really good job for the Twins this year in both the 6th, 7th, and 8th inning roles.
Albers 99 pitches, 72 strikes. And he's out of the ball game without a chance to win now. And Fiend will try to put up a 0 in the 8th inning, something that Twins pitchers, 2 of them, Jared Burton and Caleb Fieldbar, struggled to do last night. And it'll be Bonifacio, Hosmer, and Butler facing Fiend here in the 8th inning. Getting a very good start from Andrew Albers. Tomorrow, Samuel DeDuno, who has beaten the Royals twice this year, will make the start for the Twins against Bruce Chen.
In the big leagues, when you go out to take the field to play a ball game, the only thing you can really hope for from your pitcher, the only thing that you really want to hope for and expect, is that he'll give you a chance to win. And I have to say, I think Andrew Albers has done that job in all 5 of his starts now. 3 of them have been terrific. His first 2, and then this one, I think, very good. As we mentioned earlier, a couple of home runs. Got him at 3 runs against, but with your team not scoring any runs, I mean, you're not going to win with no runs. And your pitcher tonight has given you a chance to win. Has kept you in the game and given you a chance to win.
1 strike to Bonifacio. And now 2 strikes. His pickup by the Royals, he kind of fits their mold. He's been around a while, but he's still athletic, has great speed, can play a couple of different positions. The Royals have forever been looking for a second baseman, it seems. Chris Getz has had it for a while. Johnny Giavotella had it for a while. And it might be that, if he keeps hitting over 300 for his new team, that Bonifacio will be projected forward as their second baseman.
Can you think of a everyday second baseman for the Royals since Frank White?
They've had plenty of people run through there. Getz, of course, used to be a second baseman for the White Sox till Gordon Beckham came along. Foul back. I think every team has that, though, at least the teams that don't have an inflated payroll. Third base has been that for the Twins. Looks like the middle infield has been stabilized this year, but Twins haven't really had any continuity at third base since Corey Koski. Right. 1-2 to Bonifacio. 2-2.
Well, you absolutely do. Every team does go through that, and it's pretty obvious why that is. You're not going to you're just not going to develop an all-star player at a given position consecutively too often.
Bonifacio chases and strike out 1 down. Now let's go to Los Angeles for a Fox Sports 1 game break. Fister taking the loss. Dan Straley getting the win for Oakland. Here we are. We're just about done with August, and we have not seen the Oakland A's yet.
Isn't that amazing?
We have not seen them. We assume Chili Davis is still their hitting coach. Bob Melvin's still the manager, I hear. Left center. They'll be chased by Thomas. Slicing away from him, and that ball hits the base of the wall. And Hosmer has a double. Hit it in a good spot and a long ways. A 1-out double for Eric Hosmer.
I was hoping that George Brett would have remained the hitting coach for a little while longer to watch a really good swing. That ball obviously right in the middle of the plate. And Hosmer doesn't miss that one. And I love the swing back through the ball to left center. When you hit the ball that long to your opposite gap, why even risk swinging over the top of one and hitting one ground ball to second base? Hit right back through the ball and hit it long and hard. But I wanted to ask Georgie if he were still with the club. What happened with Hosmer? Did George do anything? I mean, he had a nice rookie season. He had an awful sophomore season. Then he's come back.
A little right center field gap. And a diving attempt by Ramirez. Hosmer got a good read. He's coming home. It's an RBI single for Billy Butler. Now a 4-0 lead.
There's another example of a big, strong hitter taking a big swing and hitting the ball down toward the end of the bat just a little bit and making it difficult for the outfielders to read right away how hard that ball was hit. Ramirez didn't get the best adjustment. You see that ball off the end of the bat. They're playing it deep anyway. And as he hits that ball, I guess we're not going to see Ramirez, but he got a bit of a late jump. It looked like that ball was headed toward the gap as well, and just kind of died out there because it was hit off the end.
Salvador Perez, he had 3 rockets against Albers, a double high off the fence in deep right center, an upper deck home run to left with a man aboard, and then he ripped one right over his cap after he took exception to a pitch high and tight from Albers a few pitches before. The Royals only got 6 hits against Albers over 7 innings tonight, and half of those came from a guy who had never seen him before.
You see here Ramirez in right field a little bit tentative and going a little bit sideways instead of in. It was really difficult, and a nice job by Hosmer going halfway, keeping his feet moving, and then when he recognized that the ball was not going to be caught, that he was far enough along and was able to take off to score that run.
Swinging a foul, 2-1. White Sox leading Houston 2-1. The White Sox are creeping up on the Twins. Looked like the Twins had a comfortable lead over Chicago in the central standings, but it's definitely not comfortable anymore. Driven hard to left center field. Salvador Perez with another 2-run home run. 4 times tonight he has hit the ball as hard as a human being can hit it.
Yeah, that's 4 of the best at bats in a ball game that I've seen in a long time, and there were no balls hit other than the exact sweet spot of Salvador Perez's bat tonight. Absolutely hammered everything he looked at.
Casey Fiend comes in and suffering kind of the same fate Jared Burton did last night, only back then last night it was in a tie game. As Fiend gives up 3 runs on a double, single, and home run.
Watch this swing. He was all over that. This is a powerful man, and that's a beautiful swing. Firm front side, head right on the ball. Big end whistling through the strike zone at the ball. That's a good swing. And that young man is going to be an all-star catcher for a lot of years to come, I believe. I really, really like this young man.
Second night in a row where Ron Gardenhire has to go out and get a normally reliable reliever and relieve him in the 8th inning. Last night it was Burton. Tonight it's Casey Fiend. Ay.
There, the hitting coach for that guy in this game. He said, you know, That's exactly what I've been trying to get you to do, see? Yeah, and see, when the ball's over the plate like that, then you hit it 9 miles.
Pedro Grifol, the new full-time hitting coach, shared duties with George Brett until George stepped aside a couple of weeks ago.
Well, as I started to say, I wanted to ask, so we look at new pitcher Brian Dunsing and what he's done this year, and basically what he's done lately, be very, very good. I wanted to ask George Brett. I was hoping he would still be with the club, and I've known George for a long time. I wanted to ask him about Hosmer and what changed Hosmer around, and I think I probably would have asked him, nice way to stay out of Perez's way.
To center, and right at Clete Thomas. Dunsing seen him do that before. Comes into a ball game, gets a very quick out. In this case, out number 2 in the 8th.
Well, we know exactly how important it is, how significant it is in a lineup to have a real good defensive catcher be an offensive force, and I think the Royals have something to build on and build around and anchor this team offensively and defensively in Salvador Perez. He's a very impressive young man.
Strike on the outside corner.
And I loved his reaction to the ball that was up and in on. Even though I didn't like the fact that he was so worried about a ball, I didn't think being so close to him, he really handled that very, very well. See, that ball right there was not a whole lot different than the ball that Perez went down on. And so I didn't like that so much. But what he said was, he didn't charge the man. He said, if you want to hit me in the ribs, don't be throwing it in my head. And then he proceeded to almost take Andrew Alber's head off with a line drive up the middle, and that's a professional way to go about it.
2-1 to Jamie Carroll. He'd like to start picking up some hits for his new team. It's been a very slow go for Carroll since the trade in Chicago, leading a good series. And Carroll was dealt to Kansas City. Outside, Carroll takes a walk. That'll bring up Escobar. Red Sox beat the Orioles 4-3. Breslow, the winner in relief for Boston. Escobar with a liner to short and a couple of outfield flies. Twins not holding Carroll on, and Escobar takes a strike. A 6-0 Kansas City lead, and this has been the norm this year. In every phase of the game, the Royals have outplayed the Twins. Starting pitching, bullpen, hitting, defense. I mean, there's no secret as to why the Royals are dominating the Twins.
Right. There's no head scratching about that. They're pitching better on the starting staff. They're pitching better out of the bullpen. They're swinging the bats better. And they're not beating themselves with poor defense or base running plays or whatever.
Blue can get another chance. And it should be an infield hit for Escobar. Similar to the ball that was hit down the third base line last night with runners at first and second, and Bloof on that ball last night tried to field the ball and get to the bag in front of, I think it was Perez sliding in, and the only chance he had last night. I'm not sure he had much of a chance tonight.
No, that's a base hit all the way. He had to try to get rid of it as quickly as he could. I guess the only question I might have is with that particular hitter, whether or not he needed to be playing quite as deep as he was with. And I know no doubles and all that, but
to Dozier. That ends the inning, but a good one for the Royals as they add 3 more in the inning.
On 6-0 right now. Stay with us directly after the game for Twins Live, presented by CenturyLink. Take a look at the early pitchers duel as certainly Danny Duffy outduels Andrew Albers. We'll put you on the field with former World Series winning manager Tom Kelly. Our instructional tonight all about infield communication. You won't want to miss that. And we'll go inside the Twins clubhouse and hear from the manager guys, Ron Gardner, coming up on Twins Live, presented by CenturyLink.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Bottom of the 8th coming up. A lot of work to do for the Twins. Strike 1 to Clee Thomas. Thomas, Florimone, and Dozier. Twins limited to just singles in the game so far, and only 5 of them. One and one. Swing and a miss, 1 and 2. Thomas has struck out twice tonight. Over the course of the game tonight, the Twins became the most strikeout-prone Twins team ever. We still have, what, 30 games to go. Foul back by Thomas. 31 games to go after tonight. Ground ball in front of it. Bonifacio. Thomas retired, 1 away. And that'll bring up Florimone. You can be among the first 20,000 fans through the gates Saturday, September 7th. Pick up your one-of-a-kind set of TC branded earbuds presented by T-Mobile. Gates open at 4 p.m. for the 6:10 first pitch against the Blue Jays. You can get your tickets by calling 800-33-TWINS or visiting twinsbaseball.com/tickets. One gone. Here's Florimone. To the extent there's a silver lining here, Florimone got a couple of hits right-handed against Danny Duffy. I think if Florimone, you mentioned for the Royals, if Escobar were to hit 260, they'd be content given where Florimone is in his first full year in the big leagues. If they could somehow get him to 240 by season's end, given his inexperience, I think they would consider that a season well done.
Well, I think you're right, and really what's held him back has been his stats from the right side of the plate. He just hasn't hit well right-handed.
Miss, and he's gone. 2 down.
He's got a ways to go, but I think he has the talent to be able to figure it out.
If he finishes 240, that means in the final month of the year he will have figured out something. It seems like his batting average has been sitting around 225, 230 for about 2 months. 2 down in the 8th, and now Brian Dozier. Dozier held hitless. He 3 times has hit the ball in the air to Gerard Dyson in center. Strike 1. Around the hand, 1-1. Shaver's been around a while, a failed starter. He wouldn't be the first failed starter to become a star in the bullpen. Basically what he's become for the Royals is what LaTroy Hawkins became for the Twins.
Really a great point. There have been a lot of starters with really great arms that for one reason or another just weren't able to do it as a starter, but were terrific in the bullpen in various roles.
1-2. Fly ball to right center field, and Maxwell makes the catch. The Twins go down 1-2-3 in the 8th. Game so far.
Well, Salvador Perez caught up with a whole bunch of pitches tonight. He's the hitting star. One in the upper deck, one in the bullpen, one high off the scoreboard and right, and a line single to center. 4 beautiful at bats. Alex Gordon got in the party here with a home run, a long home run over the scoreboard in right center. And Danny Duffy, a terrific job of pitching against the Twins, throwing the ball hard, moving the ball around the zone. Twins hitters had very little to answer for Danny Duffy's stuff tonight, and they had no answer for this man at the plate, Salvador Perez. Royals up 6-0.
Anthony Swarzak will pitch for the Twins in the 9th inning. And Alex Gordon will lead things on. Boy, look at Swarzak's numbers on the year. They've been pretty good. A body language guy, I guess you can kind of recognize it when a team has the other team's number. And we see that from the Royals, and we recognize it because the Twins had that kind of a swagger for a long time. But it's obvious to me. You look at the Royals, just their facial expression. They know they're better than the Twins.
Well, I think the Royals even more so. I mean, the Royals like themselves as a team right now, and that's what I'm happy for them. I mean, they look around and say, yeah, we can beat anybody. We've got the starting pitching to do it. The bullpen can hold guys down and the other team down when we get a lead, or give us a chance to get back in the ballgame. And we got some guys that can run around the bases and drive guys in. So when you have all phases of the game working pretty well, especially pitching and hitting, We're not talking about defense or anything else right now, but I mean, just when you can pitch it and hit it, you have a little swagger to yourself. You know, I mean, they like who they are right now. When you set a strikeout record, you know, for a team strikeout record, I mean, your swagger is going to be a little bit hard to find.
Got nothing to swagger about. And a base hit to right for Gordon as he leads off the 9th inning against Swarzak. You know, we're at the end of the year. We're getting there. This is our last series against the Royals. It's the last time I will see them. And just based on what Twins fans and I have seen, it's hard to believe that the Royals are behind the Indians.
I agree with that.
In the standings.
I agree with that. You look at what we've seen when the Twins have played these two clubs, and the Royals look like a much better ball club than the Cleveland Indians to me.
They've got a better starting rotation. The bullpen is better. The lineup.
The Indians are strikeout prone lineup, and
a terrible defensive ball.
What makes you say that? My goodness, that game on Sunday, I watched that game on Sunday, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
One strike to Bonifacio. And now a ball. And it's unlikely that the Royals will get past Cleveland and 3 or 4 other teams they'll need to pass to claim a wild card spot unless the Tigers completely collapse. It's up the middle, hits the bag, and goes into short right center field, and Gordon slams on the brakes and holds up at second base. Swarzak greeted by a couple of hits. And that'll bring up Hosmer. But I think if the Royals were able to get into the tournament in October, they would be the darlings of every American League fan and maybe most baseball fans, except those who are captivated by the Pirates, who haven't been to postseason play for a long time.
No question about that. And I think I mentioned last night, I don't think that they're going to that they have much of a chance to get in there in that wild card spot. But if they did, they have the kind of team that could really make some noise in a short series. You get 3 well-pitched games from their starters with that bullpen out there, and you get some of these guys like Gordon, Hosmer, Butler, and Perez to stay hot, and they could beat anybody in the American League in a short series.
1-0 to Hosmer, and now ball 2.
I think what we were talking about it last night, and you know, their inconsistency, the fact that they could reel off 7 losses in a row with that starting pitching and bullpen. You wonder how that could happen. I mentioned last night, I think part of it is because they don't have an awful lot of power, although if Salvador Perez he keeps up, I mean, he could turn into a legitimate 30 home run guy, but they don't have the ability to score runs with one swing of the bat when a lot of guys are struggling as much, and most of the good teams that stay out of prolonged losing streaks have that ability to you get one well-pitched game and a walk, an error, and a 3-run home run, and you win and break and stop a losing streak.
Bases are loaded, nobody out.
And I think the jury probably is still out about whether or not they play defense well enough to be an elite team. I'm not sure. I just haven't seen them enough to know if part of their inconsistency has been in the little fundamental things that you need to do well to be a winning team. But I really do believe that part of the issue is they don't have a big bopper or two to just like you need a starter. Every once in a while you need a guy that can just stop a losing streak with a 3-run home run.
3 home runs hit tonight, but just 94 on the season. They're the only American League team that has yet to hit as many as 120 home runs, and they've only got 94 with the 3 hit today. Butler hit a home run in his last at bat last night. Anthony Swarzak surely hoping he doesn't do that again tonight. Bases loaded, nobody out. Strike two. If the Royals go on and win this game here tonight, it means they will have not lost a series, any of the 6 series, to the Twins this year. Twins had a 4-game series here with Kansas City, and they split the 4 games. Otherwise, the Royals, including at least 2 3-game sweeps. Hey, Eddie Rodriguez. Nonchalantly. See, that's what I'm talking about, body language there. He knew he had that one all the way.
No problem.
Two strikes to Butler. And fisted foul. Swarzak shaking his head. You're not happy with the location. Twins can't quarrel with the starting pitching they've gotten against the Royals in this series. Correa 7 shutout innings last night. There's a chopper. Billy Butler is going to get an infield hit. Another run batted in. Swarzak stepped over the ball, but he had no play. Whether Plouffe would have had a chance, I don't know. But Swarzak got there first.
Well, even with Billy Butler's wheels, I think this ball is just in the perfect spot. I don't think there's any. I don't think anybody had a play there.
Seven, nothing. Base is still loaded. Perez. All he needs is the triple to complete the cycle. He's already hit 2 home runs, a double and a single.
You know, that raises a question that I want to ask you.
Yes. Double play grounder. And Florimon does it himself. Another run scored. Yes.
If a guy's got a single, a double, and 2 home runs, I think that ought to be a cycle.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he could have stopped at third on the second home runs and say, you know what, I'm good. I'm going to hang here.
I'm tired.
I'm going to hang here at third. I'm going to forfeit my home run.
Well, every once in a while you'll see it. Someone will get a cycle, and they will have had the triple, and they could have had another, and they will stop at second. They'll just glide into second base. Runner at third, 2 down, 2 in. And ball 1 to Justin Maxwell. A few years ago, might have been the last Twin to get hit for the cycle. Jason Kubel hit a grand slam, a walk-off grand slam to complete the cycle. Now that
one of the best cycles, maybe the best I've ever seen.
That is an exclamation point at the end of an historic night right there.
I'm telling you, maybe the best hit for a cycle I've ever seen or heard of.
2-0 to Maxwell. And a generous outside corner, 2-1. Yes, one of the things that the Royals have impressed upon the Twins throughout this season series, as good as the Twins bullpen has been up against everybody else, well, the Royals have just teed off on the Twins bullpen, and they did it from the very first series on.
I was going to mention when you were talking about how the Royals have beaten the Twins in almost all phases of the game, and there's so many of the runs scored and the big innings have come late in games against the bullpen of the Twins.
3-1. Ew. Actually got hit in the forearm. Hopefully harmless. Well, maybe around the fingers. Ew. He's really played well for the Royals since they picked him up. They got him down lower on the forearm, but it's at the base of the hand.
right down the heel of the hand. And the problem is when you get hit in the hand like that and the hand's still on the bat, that's when you get the most damage. It's if you can get your hand off the bat so your hand has somewhere to go with the impact, it's a lot less damaging to you than when your hand remains on the bat and the ball slams into your hand. It's still gripping the bat and kind of pinches or compresses your hand into the bat. We've had both happen, and I'll tell you, the worst part is if you haven't gotten your hand off the bat when you get hit.
Swarzak has faced 6 batters. Swarzak looking over to acknowledge, or hoping to be acknowledged by Maxwell. 6 batters faced, and Swarzak's only retired 1. Exactly what Ron Gardenhire was hoping for. This one to the right field corner, and a running catch made by Ramirez to end the night. A couple more runs for the Royals that they probably won't need. Another bad game for the Twins, 8-0. And the Twins will face right-hander Aaron Crow. Wilkin Ramirez will lead things off for the Twins in the ninth.
Aaron Crow, another great arm out of that Kansas City bullpen, about which we've been talking so glowingly, and deservedly so. A great bullpen, one of the best in baseball. And this guy can rush it up there. There's no question about that. He's very, very tough.
Wilkin Ramirez will lead things off in the ninth. Mid-90s fastball. First one delivered over the plate. Strike one.
With some movement.
David Lowe taking over in right field for Maxwell, who's probably getting ice on his right hand right now. 1-1. Noon game, a 12-10 game tomorrow. Again, no television. It'll be a squeeze play tomorrow night. Chop foul, 1-2. Ramirez with one of the 5 Twins singles tonight. 2-2. Ramirez, Morneau, and Willingham. swing, but he went. Another strikeout. Rare has been the game lately where the Twins don't strike out at least 10 times a game. That's number 9. Here's Morneau. Morneau 0 for 3, reached on a fielder's choice, couple of fly balls to right. Strike on the outside corner. White Sox beat Houston 6-1. Chris Sale picking up the win for Chicago. Two strikes. And if Twins don't miraculously turn this game around, they'll just be a game and a half ahead of the White Sox. 2 strikes to Morneau. A deep drive to right. Way back.
Yeah, that's way back.
And gone. On an 0-2 pitch, some measure of relief for Morneau and the remaining Twins fans here at Target Field.
Well, kind of a silly pitch, really, when you get right down to it. We got him 0-2 and throwing a hanging slider right in the middle of the plate. Just letting right back into the at-bat with something you don't need to do. But good for Justin for recognizing that and getting it. And this, you talk about a power swing. That's about as good a power swing as you're going to see right there. And the result is second deck.
Willingham takes a strike. Home run number 123 for the team. They've now given up 130. And for Morneau, his 16th. There's an outside chance yet of getting to 20. And of course, we don't know what the next couple days are going to mean for Morneau or Josh Willingham, for that matter. We will know more Saturday, the end of the August trading deadline. And even that is not a hard deadline. Every once in a while, there'll be players traded in September. It's just that those players can't be added to postseason rosters or included on postseason rosters. Escobar glides to his left, and that's out number 2.
Right, the trades of significance are going to happen before and by Saturday, no question about it. And there will be teams that are trying to position themselves for the playoffs, for the final stretch run, and then the playoffs. One of my most memorable and favorite acquisitions in that regard was getting my buddy Donnie Baylor right before the trading deadline, and so that he could play with us in '87 and in September and be eligible for the playoffs.
He had a run there. Baylor did. He went to the World Series, three different teams.
3 straight World Series with 3 different teams.
Boston in '86, Twins in '87, and Oakland in '88.
Exactly right. And I would tell you this, that he didn't do an awful lot for us through September and in the playoffs, but he hit what I will say was as big a home run in that '87 series as anybody. We all remember Herbie's great grand slam that won that Game 6 and gave us a sense that we were going to win the next day and win the World Series. But if Baylor doesn't hit a 3-run home run off John Tudor when we were down 5-2 in Game 6, we don't even get to Herbie, I don't think. And so those 2 guys right there, Baylor and Herbeck.
Quick look at our AT&T Twitter poll. Which league do you think will be the most dangerous? Most of you think the National League. This from an American League fan base. Can't argue with it because American League's got some really good teams in it, but the National League, you've had the Dodgers catch fire.
Yeah, you look at the Dodgers and the Braves at top to bottom. They're, when you have that kind of dominant pitching, and both teams have real shutdown kind of starters. And you look at Kershaw with the Dodgers and Ryu and those guys that are pitching so well for the Dodgers, and now they're starting to hit the ball. The Braves can shut you down and then hit the ball out of the ballpark. They look awfully good. And I think the Tigers would get serious consideration if the starting pitchers weren't so inconsistent. We talked about the Kansas City Royals being a little inconsistent with a good ball club. But you would think that the Tigers, the way that starting pitching is, that they would have run away with it by now. And they just haven't done it. They haven't done what Atlanta has done in that division over there.
what Atlanta's done has been amazing because they haven't been pushed. And every time somebody starts to put even the slightest bit of heat on Detroit, meaning Cleveland, they just go in and win the series with the Indians or sweep them and put them back in their place. A walk to Plouffe, and Herman will hit. Plouffe goes to second. Royals don't care. Strike out to Herman. Herman singled his last time up, just got a little wedge in the left field.
That was a shank.
A shank.
It wasn't a wedge, it was a shank. It was a dead shank.
1-1.
I don't normally like to even say that word, but that's what it was.
Herman at least put the ball in play all 3 times. Hasn't struck out tonight. Fouled away. Now he's got 2 strikes. One and 2 to Chris Herman. Twins avoided getting shut out last night in the 8th inning. They waited until the 9th tonight. And there's a strikeout of Herman. And the Twins indeed strike out 10 times tonight and lose to the Royals again. And the final score 8-1.
Indicative of the season series with the Royals, as we've been talking about. The Twins were outpitched in the starting staff, the bullpen, and they were out-hit all over the ballpark again tonight. Just a pretty good drubbing of the Twins by the KC Royals, who are playing like guys that look like they want to try to make a run.
Anthony LaPanta, the shame of it all, the Twins manhandled by the Royals twice, but they've gotten a pretty good starting pitching so far in this series. It just didn't matter.
Another night where the Royals got to the Minnesota bullpen. We'll show you how Andrew Albers kept the Twins in the game. We'll be on the field for an instructional regarding infield communication. Preview the series finale and hear from Ron Gardenhire. All next on Twins Live.